Welcome to the Comix Zone. Welcome to the Comix Zone.
So you don't like the ring light?
Not as much. I like the soft boxes.
Sometimes people do like cool effects with it though, like make their eyes look dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can change the colors of them.
I've seen people use them and like put it behind them in a picture and do like cool lighting effects. Like this chick on TikTok, she does like really high quality cosplays. So like the clothes she picks out are all it doesn't look like a costume. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like just clothing that she picked out really well. And yeah, she does really cool effects with her ring light, and it changes color and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. This is the Comix Zone. I'm Mike.
I'm Bill. Cheers.
Cheers. We're drinking. What are we drinking here?
So this is Shriner from Shriner Bach, the beer that I love. Sponsor me, please. Just kidding. Not kidding. Bruja's Brew, an IPA. So Bruja like witch. Witch's Brew. And it's got this like cowgirl with like electric eyes. Very Texas. Texas. Texhex.
Tex Hex.
Tex Hex. There you go.
Yeah.
Reading is, I'm good.
It's fundamental.
I know it. Reading.
So we today are going to talk a little bit about Kang since he's coming up real soon in
Ant-Man Quauntumania.
I was thinking Multiverse of Madness for some reason, but
no.
I just watched it the other day. That's probably why.
So he's kind of new character to both of us, and we're just exploring.
Not exactly new to me. I didn't really read a bunch of stories with him in there, as far as comics go.
Mm-hmm.
I did read a few like novels. Marvel did like novels back in the day, like Spider-Man, X-Men, that kind of thing. And one was called The Time Arrows or something or other. And Kang was using these, they're like super old weapons or I don't remember if they were from the future or the past.
No, that's one of the cool things about him, as he's an interesting character because he's a time traveler and a master at conquering worlds. And he conquers a civilization, takes the technology that he wants and that he needs.
What was his name?
Use it.
What was his name when they introduced
Nathaniel Richards?
In the show?
In the show, I don't know. I was looking in the comic.
No, well, I'm just, because I'm looking at his bio right now in the Marvel Encyclopedia. We're using a book. That's how old we are.
Old school.
But yeah, in the comics, he's Nathaniel Richards, and I think that's interesting because he's a descendant of Mr. Fantastic's father. And wasn't he related to Doctor Doom as well?
That was another theory that they threw around too.
Okay.
Or he's one of those interesting characters that started off, and originally his first appearance was in as a Rama Tut.
Yep, his first stop in time travel was ancient Egypt.
But that was even retcon, because that just happened in, I think it was Fantastic Four 19. And then later on, in I think Avengers 8, they've said, hey, he's going to be a time traveler and uses the Sphinx as his time machine. I think that's very important, especially even as we look into Quantumania. If we don't see the Sphinx, I'm going to be very surprised.
Well,
even just in the background.
You got to remember, you were going to see many different versions of Kang.
Yep.
And this is just one that we'll be seeing in Quantumania. Doesn't mean he's the same one we'll be seeing throughout the MCU. Maybe it's just in this movie. Maybe he's the big bad one. We don't know. Yeah,
and as far as the MCU, it's important to note that he in Loki, what did he call the man at the end of it all died. So that version we saw die in the MCU, but then we had that
But he was the very like best of them, right? So he was insane for sure, but
He's not what they call the prime
he
Kang.
wasn't he wasn't like the super evil one.
So yeah, what they were calling it is the prime.
Do you got your? Can we look up what was his name in Loki?
I wrote it down in my notes somewhere.
But I just want to compare because I want to know if they're going to stick with the Nathaniel Richards thing.
Oh yeah, I don't have what they called him in the comics. I was kind of checking out some YouTube videos, some really good ones from like Comics Explained. Got to give them credit, and also Variant Comics. That's a great YouTube channel that's worth checking out as far as this comic encyclopedia kind of knowledge. So they get credit for a lot of the information that I'm talking about here today.
Okay. Yeah,
I think that was purely looking at the comics, but I think the interesting thing is as far as the comics, it kept changing as things went on and got bigger and bigger, and especially as dealing with time travel, kind of once he goes back and changes time, he creates another version of himself until they get the whole kind of they didn't call it like a citadel.
Yeah, the
council of Kangs.
Yep. Well, and it says here he gathered alternate versions of himself from branching time streams, like you just said, and formed the council. They killed duplicates deemed unworthy until the prime Kang remained.
So that was just a way, and also people were saying that was a way of cleaning up old.
Well, yeah,
so
and to guarantee that he will conquer no matter what. Mm-hmm. Right? That you find the most conquery of the Kangs. So I wonder if we will end up seeing, like, we definitely will see a Council of Kangs at some point, but I wonder if it'll be in this movie.
I bet it's going to be the Kang Dynasty.
Yeah.
If we're going to see it there, because
it's not going to be here.
He's such a complicated character, or could be, because we're dealing with time travel. And I think the most important thing to notice about Kang is he's in it for the long con. He's a manipulator, not only of time itself, but he doesn't cause the action. He makes somebody else do it for him, or set him up in a place where he can absolutely dominate and conquer. So, I mean, that's what's cool about this character, as far as makes him just so villainous and such a good rival.
Well, and the ability to see every point in time, like, how do you beat somebody like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what makes him a conqueror, is the ability to not, like, yeah, like you said, he sets himself up to win. Like, he can't lose. Like, as far as the MCU goes right now, he's already won. Like, he was bored of his victory. That's why he
was waiting at the end of time.
Yes. Like, he's already won a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So that's, like, kind of interesting about that. And how do they win? Like, how do they, and what does winning look like when it comes to all this?
As far as like Kang's point of view, you think? Is that what you mean?
Well, stopping him from controlling the timelines and everything. Because is that the ultimate goal? Like, what's the ultimate goal? Like, why do we need to beat Kang? He's just like...
Well, in the comics, a lot of what he was driven by was a love and loss of love.
Right, he was trying to find that... his lady throughout time. And
Ravana Renslayer?
Right.
Ravana Renslayer? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Probably not. Tell me in the comments. No. Yeah, she originally rejected him, but then ended up throwing herself in front of
a version of her.
I mean, the original, like going back to the original story.
Oh yeah, the original her, and she died, and now he's looking throughout time to.
Well, it didn't even. She was hit by some blast. Let's just say bullet, for lack of a better word, and then he realizes then that she did have feel. This was after she rejected him, and then he realized she did have feelings for me, and then kind of was like fell back in love, or never, I guess, was out of love. and then decided to kind of put her in like cryogenic stasis to find a cure for her. But then later on, she came back as there was an alternate version of her that came back and caused shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think I remember something like that, where
That was
not
probably
only
all
that-
Comics Explained credit there.
in the book series I was talking about earlier. They did talk about that, and he was like trying to he was trying to find alternate versions of her, but a version that was, agreeable to him.
And I saw a little bit of that. There was a recent, like I think a 5 or 6 issue, it was either Timeless or Kang, that came out in 2001, I believe. And it kind of retold his story from that point of view. And just as like kind of a what if, and just as I love time travel as a subject, if old you came back to young you and told you how to win, how to beat and get everything you want,
Then you can't lose. That was what we were talking about.
and that's how he started. I mean, that's kind of was his origin there. So I think that's just an interesting dynamic. I was just thinking, what do you think is going to happen? And you've seen the recent trailer for Ant-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any predictions or expectations?
Not exactly. No, I kind of I don't know enough about I know what I'm reading here, and his story is being a time traveler. His story is very clear.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on so you're talking about the Prime.
Just
Kang.
not even just Kang, but in the new Ant-Man movie.
Well, I expect that he is going to be stuck in the quantum realm somehow. That version of him. I almost wonder if
I'm sorry, you mean him, Ant-Man, or Kang, or both?
Kang. But I think, they're going to be stuck. Ant-Man and all them will be stuck in the quantum realm because of that machine his daughter created. Is that what?
Yeah, we saw in the previews.
So clearly they will get sucked in there and stuck. But I think Kang is either stuck there or has built he's conquered even there. So there's a version of him that has conquered the quantum realm.
It's all part of his plan.
Yep. And maybe that's the one that created the TVA.
He has a lot of ties to the TVA. And the other thing, as far as the most recent trailer, I think it paints an ominous picture for Ant-Man.
It almost
it looks like, I almost think it gave away too much, or it's given us a lot of misdirects. Because most of they're a little ambiguous, but the last one I saw kind of pointed that Kang was trying to coerce Ant-Man to help him, or even blackmail Force at a certain point, and then
you just got to wonder what the stakes are. Is he
and
bargaining?
then at a certain point it's like, you double crossed me, and then we don't know what happens. Is he gonna? I almost think Ant-Man's going to lose, if not die or appear to die.
Yeah, and it'll be the beginning of things where people start to take notice that there's a problem in the first place. Because, at large, the MCU doesn't know that Kang's even a problem. They don't know he exists.
Yeah.
So this will be the first Avenger, unless you count Loki as an Avenger, and maybe he was at some point. I guess when he tried to kill Kang, or Thanos, and died, you could call him an Avenger almost at that point. And he helped.
Yeah.
Either way, this will be the first Avenger to run into Kang and actually know that he's even a person or a threat or whatever. Other than I think, and clearly, Hope's mother.
Yeah.
So Hank Pym's wife. Clearly, she lived there for a long time, and she knows about Kang. I think she knows about him, and there's going to be something there, too.
Yeah.
Maybe she fucked over Kang, or you know what I mean?
or she was used by. Reading into what
I would
as
think-
far as
I
what
would
I
think-
hope from reading what I read of the comics and what I think of the character, I think him as being a master manipulator. This is everything is part of his plan. Every move that these guys are doing was his part. The beacon to bring in, I think that's all, and it's going to be slowly kind of revealed. I mean, that's what I'm kind of expecting from this character.
Do you think he is going to be the Prime King?
I don't know.
He's the one chilling in the quantum realm, just kind of controlling every timeline from there.
It's possible, but
Because we already know you can time travel through the quantum realm, and maybe that's the key, like the pathway.
yeah.
So maybe that's like, call it like a train station, if you will. You know what I mean? Like,
or that's what he's building. Yeah.
that's the what do you call it? Help me out, Drew.
Hub.
Yeah, it's like the hub for the timelines, and he controls everything from there. But he also called the end of time that, right?
Yeah. Oh, so the TVA. So one thing that I heard was he started the TVA, or not didn't start it. It was because of his actions that all of those extra times that came back, the other alternates of him, even when they died, those timelines continued. So the TVA had to kind of regulate and start to control those
And start wiping out.
and taking care of those timelines and making sure it wiped them out or make sure that they didn't interfere with the important other timelines.
Can you kind of see how the TVA is almost a necessity or something like that?
In this scenario, it's
in that scenario where branching timelines are just like, that's a real problem if you are, like, if you really think about that, that's a legit problem.
Mhm.
Like, it makes it's hard to follow even as like somebody following a story. It makes it muddy. It's a problem for people writing a story. So think about how much of a problem it would be in reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and trying to regulate that and keep things.
I think as far as like a story goes, there's a fine line,
Well, each split timeline. Sorry,
or just any time travel of getting too convoluted in its own story.
it creates a whole new universe every time you split a timeline. A new universe is essentially created, and it's a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah.
But maybe that is what creates.
Pandora's box.
But maybe that's what creates the multiverse.
That is what created the multiverse.
Right, is split timelines, so maybe trying to police that and regulate it is
Necessary.
not necessary, and maybe arrogant to think that
Probably
you
both.
maybe arrogant to think you could control the flow of time. And
Well, even in the Loki story, it kind of ended up that way. At least the first kind of version we saw there, where they were kind of the robots were in charge or ancient. I forget what they called them, but then they turned it out to be complete phonies. The
What?
kind of at the end of Loki, season 2, or was it? Yeah, 2.
what are you talking about?
TVA.
Yeah, who's robot?
The leaders, like the leaders of the TVA that they were all following.
Oh yeah, the stupid little fucking it was like Wizard of Oz.
So they were. That's a good analogy. The man behind the curtain was just a robot.
Because he was hiding.
Phony.
Yeah, he didn't want people to know it was him, so he had a fake
Plato's cave.
yeah.
That's for Scott.
For Scott.
Yeah, dropping the philosophy references.
Yeah. He killed it on that episode, by the way. That was a fun episode. I think we could actually do another, because we only scratched the surface, really, when it comes to AI and whatnot.
I think we can cover a lot of ground when we bring up for a Blade Runner episode.
That would be cool. Yeah, we
that's
should do.
that's one that's been on our list, especially with him being a real.
Well, and just to give him more time on the mic and shit, I know just people personally that I know that have heard the episodes he's on, they're like, he's probably one of the best people that you have, just because he's super intelligent, and you can tell just by the way he talks. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think he definitely deserves more time on the show, and he's like makes me feel like a dumbass, but you know what I mean? But that's not hard to do.
No.
Are you agreeing that I'm a dumbass?
No,
or are you
I'm
agreeing that
It's not. I say it for myself too. It's easy to make myself look like a dumbass.
I'm kidding. On the spot. What was I gonna say? So like plans for the show. We're gonna start doing a couple new different things. We're gonna start calling people.
And it's
Doing.
infancy.
We're gonna have a. You just couldn't wait to hit that button.
Yeah, baby laugh.
It's so creepy.
Making and then
We're gonna start doing trivia, different games. We're gonna call different guests and maybe even people from the Comix Zone. The group will set up.
Oops,
and
wrong button.
See like who wants to stump me and Bill. See who can beat us in trivia.
So, do you have what it takes to take us on?
And
The consequences
you probably do,
of
'cause
losing
most
are
of the
severe.
Most of the time, I'm full of shit. I speak with a lot of confidence, and that like helps, especially when you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, but now we have like the encyclopedia, so we're gonna quiz people, even ourselves, about that.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, not just Marvel shit, but we'll talk about movies. We'll pop culture, whatever the fuck. It's trivia about whatever. I think.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And that'll keep it fun and like broad. I really dig that music.
yeah.
Makes me want to bust
So the first question to you is it'll be about me.
off the top.
So this should be an easy one.
Let's look
So
up.
who is? There's two possible answers. Who is my favorite all-time character, comic book character?
Venom.
Correct.
It's like the easiest question ever.
Yes, it was the easiest question
Like,
ever.
why are you asking me easy shit? Drop me. I'm gonna look up. Here's what we're gonna do to kick this whole trivia thing off. I'm gonna look up trivia questions. I'm gonna ask you. You should look up some, and we'll ask each other 5 questions, and whoever, and they're not gonna be obviously the same, but whoever answers the.
What is Sean's middle name?
How would I know that? Sean. Okay, Sean. What's his last name? Jackson.
I don't even.
His middle name is Nike, obviously.
Yeah, that is wrong.
It's probably something crazy like Bartholomew.
No.
No?
Udell.
See, I just said it's probably something crazy. How the fuck would I ever know that?
That's all right. No.
Okay. I'm going to look up.
So that was our first round of trivia. It took 2 minutes. So
For one question.
there was a couple questions in there, but so once we get things ready, we'll be more prepared and have a
Yeah, we'll do a
it for
trivia.
legit.
Yes. I think that'll be a fun addition to the show for sure.
Yeah. The question is,
What?
the
Is
question.
that what we call it?
The question.
The question is.
The question is, my highness.
Heinous. Anus.
Oh, so Kang. That's what we were.
Right.
And
So-
I think we were also just talking about Ant-Man. And who do you think, are we going to get any other surprise characters? We've seen MODOK in the trailer. He's been in the back.
I'm interested to see him more than anything, honestly, especially seeing so who's supposed to be voicing him or whatever? Like
I
playing him?
don't know. I haven't looked up IMDb or anything. In the comics, there was a big intervention with Black Knight. And I think the big question is
Jon Snow.
Yep. And Loki. That's who I think a lot of fans, I know Chelsea and also myself included, want to see reunited.
Loki and Quantumania.
Yeah.
I think
even post-credit scenes, and I'm wondering, they should be able to tie it into when season 3 comes out. I don't know when that is. So I think that's the real question as far as production line, when we're going to actually see Loki back in the MCU. So is it?
I think this would be a good time to at least do a little cameo action.
Exactly. That would be.
But it's got to make sense. But maybe not. I mean, fan service is cool too.
And ultimately, it is an Ant-Man movie. So I think those characters we're going to see, Wasp and...
maybe like how you saw the Guardians in Love and Thunder, but it was at the beginning for 5 minutes, and then they're not in the rest of the movie. You know what I mean? But maybe not that exactly. I'm just saying maybe you just see him for a couple minutes and that's it.
Ant-Man? Or
Loki.
Oh. I'd see more likelihood of a post-credit scene.
Okay.
That's what I would like to see, but honestly, I've been being used to being disappointed in any kind of my predictions. Anytime I try to predict anything, it's always wrong. And I think, a little bit, is that fine? 99%.
Dang.
98. As far as trying to predict what the MCU is going to do next. Because...
especially now, it's so hard to... Thanos, you could kind of predict that. It's not, super difficult. He's going to get the time. He's going to get the stones, and he's going to... wipe out half the universe. We all knew that.
Fuck shit up.
It's what is... that's what I'm struggling with is, what is the fight here? He's already won. The universe is running as it runs and everything's whatever. So where does the fight happen? You know what I mean? And maybe that's what this movie explains.
Which fight?
Just
as far as the main big baddie,
end game.
As far as phase 4, into phase 5, why should we give a shit?
Yeah.
Why should we give a shit factor?
What are we fighting about?
Mm-hmm.
If he's already won and the universe is running how it runs, what are we fighting for? He's God. Just let him be God. And so what's the big end game here? Not to...
no pun intended.
Exactly. But what is the end game?
Yeah, exactly.
And,
that's what we...
figuratively and, all covering everything.
And I think it's not too much to ask, as we're seeing this timeline presented by Marvel at the last few Comic-Cons, that we're going to get that. The other question is, we may see Moon Knight return. Just as we see, calling back to the reference of the Sphinx, King Tut was also mentioned, and he was also kind of linked to one of the... Amit.
DJ Nike's here. What up?
What's up?
We're talking about Kang right now, bro.
Yeah, we're back.
DJ Nike's here.
Yay!
Kickstart in hand, ready to podcast. We've been talking about
Kang the Conqueror.
Kang the Conqueror.
Oh, yes.
So
you maybe don't need to move that in a little bit for you.
So we gave a little bit of... do you remember? And we couldn't remember, and we didn't look it up because we're lazy. What did they give his actual name in Loki?
No.
Because in the encyclopedia, in the comics, he's Nathaniel Richards, descendant of Reed Richards.
I know, which I've actually spoken about on one of the other shows. Because remember when I was talking about the junior, what do they call them, the new Avengers, the young squad?
Oh, yeah, Iron Lad.
Iron Lad. So one, it's actually him, but before he became Kang, an older Kang went back and saved him, you know what I mean, to keep him from turning into it. So,
okay. So I wonder, and what do you think? Do you think he will be Nathaniel Richards in
the MCU?
In the MCU?
Oh,
or
yeah,
do you think they're going to change that?
I'm pretty sure. Well, I would have wondered before, but since we already got Reed, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic, in...
Multiverse of Madness.
Thank you. And we already know that they are going to be bringing the Fantastic Four in. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be him. Like there's no point in changing them like they did with
no
Namor.
reason to not do it. So I think that's a good, and I wouldn't even ask if that wasn't the case. If they didn't show me Reed Richards already in Multiverse of Madness, then I would highly doubt they would name him.
And the character of Kang has a lot of ties to Fantastic Four. That's where his original appearance, that and the Avengers. So I think,
although he was a main villain for Iron Man for a long time,
he's gone up against every single character in Marvel pretty much.
He's kind of that
Spider-Man.
guy,
and he's just as far as just being written in here or there too, but also being a main conflict because just as he is multiverses or just alternate versions of him, there's all these different.
So we were talking, like as you were coming in, we're talking about when you look at, and obviously we haven't seen Ant-Man, but we all are going to go see that, right?
Yes, we are. We still have tickets from that.
So I don't got to get tickets. Do I got to give Vanessa a ticket?
No, all of us that were there last time.
She wasn't. Oh yeah, she was.
She was. Everybody that went to Black Panther.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, we're good. Okay. Watching the trailer and watching Loki, watching everything we've seen with Kang up to this point.
Right.
What do you think, no pun intended, our end game is as far as like what's the fight? Like why are we
going to give a fuck? What's our emotional attachment?
Why are we fighting Kang? Like what do you think?
Well, I think they're going to actually give us that in the quantum realm of madness, whatever it's called. I think we're going to get it in there because if everything ends there with him and Ant-Man, there'll be no point for him to become the big baddie. It's going to be curious to see how they sum up the film or how they branch out with it. Like, I'm curious because like we saw what they did, like the big tease in Loki. Like we knew what was going to happen, but I don't think we 100% know what's going to happen in Ant-Man.
Yeah, you didn't get what the end of the fight is going to be. Maybe I need to watch that again.
This is also the first movie of Phase 5.
Yes.
Right?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So now, yeah, I think as far as Marvel goes, they need to put all chips on the table as far as just how kind of on and off fans have been lately as of the last Phase 4.
And especially thinking too, the entire Avengers lineup has been almost completely decimated. There's no Iron Man anymore. There's no Black Widow anymore. More than likely, there's going to be a Captain America, obviously, because it's Sam. But we don't have the original Cap anymore. You know what I mean? So like, they better get people on board now. This is the time,
Right, because people could easily lose interest
quickly
if we don't know what the fuck's going on. Like we were talking about, like Thanos, you started seeing Thanos, you're automatically like, oh, Infinity Gauntlet. Like you knew where they were going with this. Not exactly how they would do it, but we knew where it was going.
We had that,
and
like
that's
that
what I'm
scent,
asking.
like in the cartoon of the mouse floating around the house. We had that scent that we were chasing, and we knew that there was going to be something good at the end of that.
And we'd
smell.
already seen Infinity Stones, and we're just like, we knew what was up.
But one thing I'm going to say with this one, and because they've started to deviate, like the MCU is now, like we were always, getting the hints that it was 616. Although they have mentioned it's 616 and even used that term, it's definitely deviating far from the comics now, and they can do that. And I think that's actually a good thing for us, because we don't know, as us hardcore nerds, we don't really know where it's going to go, and they have the ability to tell new stories.
And it's a different medium too, and I think I always like to appreciate the medium for what it is as far as film and show and a comic book. Not all comic books translate well. Like especially some of those older ones, the way the stories are told, they're very slow and over-explain stuff. And I think kind of they need a little freshening up.
And, and I hate to throw my Transformers stuff in here, but there's a lot of times with the hardcore Transformers groups don't like the Michael Bay universe because it goes so far from the G1 lore. But it was like, well, you can't have a cassette recorder that's 16 feet tall in robot mode turn into something that's this big. You know, with science and what we know as humans now, like that just doesn't work. That was cool in a cartoon for a kid, but that doesn't work. Like you have to make it at least somewhat believable and in the realm of reality science, you know what I mean, for things to work. So
And the truth is they're appealing to a much wider audience than just
Facts.
comic book fans. They need everyone to make the money to make those big budget movies because it's expensive.
now the one thing I will say, I'm expecting to see at least some type of crossover with is with the everything going on with the Secret Wars with the Skrulls and the aliens. But it'll be nice to see how they're gonna, because that really had nothing to do with Kang in the comics.
No, that's all about the Skrulls. And like I wonder, like during the Secret War, or invasion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
So Skrulls were like taking over the position of like
Superheroes.
not only heroes but like politicians, just people, just normal people and stuff. Like, so I wonder, you have to wonder at this point when it comes to that, who is a Skrull at this point?
And they've already hinted that Nick Fury is one.
Yeah.
We don't know how long he's been one. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Nick Fury, yeah, it was a scroll.
We haven't seen Nick. When's the last
Well, there's
time we
one.
saw
There's
Nick
one
Fury?
in space.
I think the one in space is the real him, but
Yeah.
the one that's been on Earth, and we don't know how, because I can't even
We haven't
remember.
What
seen
was
him
the?
in-
It was one of the Avengers. It was Endgame or around that. It was.
Oh, the one at the funeral.
Was it at the, it's been a while since I've seen
He
it.
I
was
forget
at,
what
he
it
was
was,
at,
Yeah.
he was at Tony Stark's funeral.
All right, and then it showed him, you know what I'm saying, when they were driving away, him and Mariah Hill, and he changed over.
At the end of Endgame?
I don't remember if it was in game.
There was one. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. I know what you're. I can't
Because I
place
think-
where it is. So this is like phase 3.
So
Yeah.
you're saying
This is late phase 3.
Are we thinking then that the last time we saw the real Nick Fury was the Captain Marvel movie?
No. Well, it's a possibility.
Well, no, because that
It's a-
happens in the 90s, right?
Right.
So
Early 90s.
when's the last time we saw the real Nick Fury?
Technically, we don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like the
That's-
way they showed that,
That's fucking crazy.
yeah. And if he's been a scroll that long, like they could play that up for a lot of different things.
Yes. I kind of like that better than this whole Kang thing. Why do I like that better?
Because it brings a lot of different things that could happen. You know what I mean?
Well, and it keeps like older characters in the mix, and that's the tough thing. Is like comics, you can keep characters young as long as you want to, but
You can't pull
can't
pull that
do
off
that in reality.
That's
and that-
right.
you gotta.
Well, yes, and I mean, no. You get. I think some comics, it's hard because if you want to keep that same audience, if you don't have a new audience to kind of recycle those new kids, that new generation to kind of take that on, it's. And I think that's what they're trying to do here.
But I mean, like, even if you think about it, like when it comes to aging, I think Spider-Man stayed high school, early college for like ever in the 90s. And then all of a sudden he was like in his 30s. And I mean, they did the same thing with a lot of the X-Men, but like even when some of them started aging, like the main one, Scott, Jean, you still had like Jubilee, they still had her like a teenager. And then all of a sudden she's a mother and she has a kid.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Arguably, though, the X-Men were more interesting once they were adults.
I would agree with that.
You know what I
But-
mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, it still is like they kept them around that.
Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2. I think Spider-Man was more interesting as an adult.
As a young adult.
I like the college.
Yeah, in his 20s.
When he's hustling, he's the reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which
he's got a job. He's got real
World shit
Struggling,
to deal
yeah.
with.
fucking
Yeah.
man problems
Yeah.
and shit. You know.
But and some of the high school stuff's all right, but yeah, overall, that
I guess that would depend like on your age too, just whatever you relate with, and that's always what's been so appealing about Spider-Man in particular is like his relatability. So maybe the older Spider-Man would relate to the older me, and then the younger Spider-Man related to the younger me. You know, what
But
I
I
mean?
think that was part of the whole reason why they came out with Miles Morales is because
they
all of
needed
it,
new.
they needed a new Spider-Man, and there was no
something
point in
fresh.
reverting the one that we had already grown with.
because they've done it so many times before, so they needed a fresh face,
and I
a
want
fresh appeal.
Miles in the MCU.
And they did a great job with it too.
I think
I
it'll
haven't
happen
read too-
eventually.
but squirrel.
I want Miles in the MCU.
I think it's gonna happen, but I think they're trying to. They don't want. I would guesstimate they don't want him with Tom Holland's Peter at the same time.
Why not? Fuck that. Fuck that. You got literally 2 other Peter Parkers. We can't have Miles too.
Maybe they can't afford it.
That could be another thing too.
Why can't you afford it? You can get a no-name actor to play him, and I think that's the move. Honestly,
Well, you think about it. Tom Holland was pretty much no name. Like, I mean, he'd done stuff, but not to that level.
That's the move with Miles too. You get somebody that nobody knows about, but you know he's got it. Like he's got. Maybe the criteria is someone like Tom Holland.
I would say just from the way that it worked with their dynamic, you know what I mean? There was an older Spider-Man, you know what I mean, that died.
That was a great movie.
You know what I mean? And then the other universe one was the older one to help him out. Like, I don't think Tom Holland's been Spider-Man long enough. His Peter has been...
No, you don't have to get rid of him. You can have them existing at the same time. Like, and with all the multiverse shit, and isn't Miles from another universe, right?
Yes.
So you could bring him in and somehow...
I'm still not sure how him and Gwen and Old Man Logan got into 616.
Maybe this is why. Is because how do you bring Miles over to the MCU, keep him there indefinitely? How do you do that without him and have him be cool with that?
And also, let's think about the money, and not so much that Disney, because we know Disney Marvel can afford it. More like, would Sony let them do that? Because that's their cash cow right now.
Do they have Miles?
They own all of the Spider-Man. That's the only thing that Disney doesn't own is Spider-Man. That's why there was that problem with No Way Home.
Because Miles has been a thing since the 90s almost, hasn't he?
Early 2000s. But it doesn't, I'm just
hologram,
saying.
the hologram covers was his first
So they must
cameo. Well, yeah, the black one, I forget, I think that Spectacular, I don't know.
Okay.
But one of the holograms was kind of his first cameo, I believe. I'll have to fact check that. But yeah, so the character has been around.
My point is he's been around long enough to been acquired in the deal, even though they didn't know he was like a thing back then.
That's what I'm saying.
He was a part of the deal, and now he's the shit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But all Spider-Man properties, whether it's villains or that, you know what I'm saying? That's been the problem with why it was so hard for them to do Venom and get him in the MCU and do Spider-Man and get it, like, you know what I mean? It all depends on what Sony is willing to let them do. And considering they still have another multiverse movie, you know, Miles Morales movie they're getting ready to drop this year, they might not want him live action until they've milked that cash cow a little bit more.
Yeah, true. So you get...
So I'm wrong. It's Ultimate Fallout is his first appearance. Ultimate Fallout number 4, 2011.
I knew it was 2000.
Think about this, and how fucking dope would this be?
Okay.
The new Into the Spider-Verse drops.
Right.
You watch the whole movie. It goes all crazy. Post-credit scene is Miles going from animated
to live
action, and it ties in that way.
That would be so bald. That would be, oh my goodness.
Like, so he jumps over to 616.
That would be awesome.
And becomes live action, and it ties the animated.
And by America Chavez. There's your link.
I want to see her.
There's your link.
Ooh, yeah. You know what? If that actually happens, I would lose my shit.
America Chavez comes through. She's like, "Oh, Miles, we need you.
That would be dope.
Come with me if you want to live."
That would be dope and very doable. That's genius, actually.
I think America Chavez is one of the coolest characters they've come up with lately.
I would agree.
She's my favorite of the new Avengers by far.
I like the actress too.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's one that they've like hit right on the head, and if they continue with her, and obviously she's gonna be a big part of fighting Kang, and which is what we've been talking about on this episode. Is like her powers in particular are gonna come in really handy when it comes to fighting somebody like Kang.
You think they're going to use her that much?
Maybe. I think
well,
so.
people are talking about the rings as part of being her amulets and also kind of the
like
10
the
rings.
10
of-
rings, right?
So there's talk that there's
Shang-Chi.
some sort of
Well, because
tie
they
in
did
there.
talk about in Shang-Chi that those rings are ancient, like they're older than they can even.
And his Kang is a master of all times, and his weaponry is both old and new.
So maybe
Because
that's
there is a Kang that's from. I think you were talking about that when I walked
so
in.
maybe we
from-
need to
from
look.
the Sphinx.
Rama Tut,
Yes,
And yeah, he was the pharaoh, right?
the pharaoh.
which I would also like to see them tie in with the X-Men.
Oh,
with,
they're gonna.
with the Apocalypse.
I was
Yeah, because that's
Dude.
the other. The other character that's
dude.
Timeless.
I was gonna bring that up. Is like I wonder. So was he a pharaoh before Apocalypse, or like who was after who?
That's a good time. That's a good point because I've never looked up the actual timeline. All I know is Apocalypse was the first mutant, so I don't know how far back that goes. But
by the way, if you guys want to read that, I have the Rise of the Apocalypse 4-part series. So good.
yes, I did.
And it's when he develops his power.
I've seen flashbacks of it.
So
you
he's
know what I mean, but I haven't seen the whole thing.
He's a slave,
Yeah, I knew that.
and then right, dude,
Yeah.
it's so. And I had a really hard time finding that. By the way,
I would bet.
I had one of the books, lost it, and I just remembered how much I loved that book. And then I eventually found it at Mile High Comics. Everybody talks shit on that place, and they're a little expensive. I'm not gonna lie.
But if you can't find it there, it's
But
going to
if-
be hard
yeah,
to not
if
to
you-
find it.
Exactly.
That's the
And I
biggest
always-
warehouse in the world for comic books.
And I always look at it as adding shipping too. So if it figure that's probably $8 to $10 for a good shipping cost
I
for a
don't go
comic.
I don't go
So
in that place.
that's my adding it. That's my premium.
I don't walk into that place expecting to spend any less than $200.
At one point, before we had a comic book store, which we don't again now, but before we had one, it was $400 for me.
Yeah, you
because I
better-
only
yeah.
went in there once every 3 months, and
You
I
don't
knew
walk-
I was dropping
You don't
$400.
just casually. It's what is it? You don't just
Walk into
walk
Mordor.
in.
Yeah,
You don't
We do not simply walk into Mile
just
High
simply
Comics
walk into
Yeah.
Mile High Comics.
with a
And-
$20
yeah,
bill.
and they know when it's your
And
like
you
they
fuck-
can. Yeah, they know how many. Like they can see in your face when it's your first time. They can see in your face when you're coming in there for something
Yeah.
specific. Like they know their shit.
I'm trying
It's
to
just
find.
overwhelming to find what That's the intimidation
They
factor.
make it
for
really
me.
easy though.
With the computer shit that they can look up.
Yeah, you can be like, I'm looking for this, and also the way they have their rows set up, like it's very easy to dig through their comics. And if you can't find what you're looking for, somebody's gonna come by and be like, "What you looking for?" And you be like, "Just go in there with a list, ready to find." Like,
So the last time I was there, it was COVID, so everybody was kind of stand back.
Right.
They were already awkward to begin with, and then that happens, and I didn't know what I was looking for. Like
you don't-
now,
you don't
I
just
was
walk in
still
there, like
cold.
casually.
Yeah.
yeah. You gotta go in there.
With a purpose.
I was like, I
And-
like
and it's
Venom.
like a once a year. It's like a once a year thing anyway. For me, since we're I'm not going to Denver like all the time.
See, I go for games, so I'd say it's a quarterly thing for me. I go at least 3 or 4 times a year.
Okay, but are you going to Mile High every single time?
Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't when we had a comic book store, but now that we don't, hell
Now
yeah.
you- now you got to.
Yep.
And that was Mile High was my chance, when I went there and I'm like, this is my chance to grab the old shit that I'm looking for that I don't necessarily want to like order online, but
Right.
because it's also really cool to just dig through comics and find what you're looking for.
It's
or
an
something that
adventure. It's
you-
part of
yeah.
the. It's part of the process of collecting.
Go into the comic
hunt.
shop and smell the BO of the nerds.
Yeah,
No, that's fine.
and awkwardness.
Like literally every time you go in there, I guarantee you're gonna walk by somebody who smells like shit.
I actually haven't. I will say that place has a very distinctive warehouse smell,
Like,
but
come on.
I've never smelled.
I'm just saying, come on, nerds, you can do better. You know what a shower is. Your mom told you what a shower is. Don't be a dirty nerd.
Well, now that we have openly girls in nerdom, fellas,
Yeah, you don't have an excuse,
Yeah.
my guy,
for real.
because you don't know when you're gonna like meet her. Like you do. I tell this to my son. I'm like, you smell bad. Like you do. Like when you got BO, you need a shower. Like when's the last time you took one? Oh, it's been like 3 days. What are you doing?
Blah.
But you don't have kids yet. You have pets,
No.
but it's not the same.
Oh, I know I know it's going to be worse. There's like,
Yeah, little boys are the worst. But you know what I mean? Yeah, they're the worst.
Well, and it makes me wonder, is like, did I do that when I was a teenager?
I didn't, but I was raised by women.
I'm telling you, that's me too. I grew up with 2 sisters. My mom was like, and my dad wasn't around like a crazy amount. So I grew up around women. I was not like, because they will tell you, you smell like shit.
And fix it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's the difference, you know what I mean? So if you have to tell them, like I had to tell my boys all the time, it's like, how do you, especially my upper teenage, like once they started hitting like 15, 16, 17, like you will never have a girlfriend smelling like that. You know what I mean?
Well, and at first when you try to tell them that, they're like, I don't even like girls. I'm like, what the fuck ever?
That'll change. Yeah.
Like, you can say that, but I know you're lying. I can see it in your eyeballs.
And I've seen your browser history.
Yeah, it said naked boobs and can I fight my dad yet? No, just
I'm a Marine. My children know better.
I'm waiting to see that how to fight my dad like on the search history.
I keep my children deathly afraid, so I don't. Well, my boys, my girls know all they have to do is cry, and I hate the fact that they know that.
My boys know that if they start crying, then I know I went a little too far. Like, come on.
Oh, I mean, I've hit my child, you know, not like punched them, but, you know,
No, I
popped
punched
them
them out.
a little bit too hard, ring, catch them in the wrong spot.
They gotta know when they talk shit, they earn that for
Facts. And the biscuit.
And the biscuit. Hey, I got a fucking soda pop.
Right.
Just kidding. How much time we got on this motherfucker?
I don't think we should wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any other expectations, Sean, about Ant-Man? What characters you want to see, hope to see, specifically Loki, or as far as any others that you what are your wish lists there as far as?
I want to see a little bit more teamwork, and it doesn't have to happen until the end, and it could even be, you know what I mean? I want to see who they're going to bring around. Like
Teamwork.
Because at this point, we don't know who the new Avengers are going to be. You know what I mean? Like, we can guesstimate that maybe Thor's still going to be one. Sam Wilson, new Cap's going to be one.
He's going to be dope.
Doc Strange, hopefully Shang-Chi, you know what I mean? Wong, but like, again, we've lost so many people. Iron Man's gone.
No, is Wong going to be an Avenger, though?
Or even what about Hawkeye now that he's injured?
Oh, man.
Snowplow.
Oh,
hit him.
yes.
So, I
He
mean,
got hit by a snowplow?
yeah.
Yeah, a big one.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I thought he got in a snowmobile accident.
No, he got hit by a snow plow. We're talking like the
Ow.
shit, like a Wyoming
I don't
clear
know.
road type thing.
What?
Yes.
And like, it was ICU touch and go for a minute.
Yeah. He was.
What the fuck? So he was like, what, out shoveling the snow?
Yep.
And got too close to the edge and the plow came by.
Yeah,
and
because
clipped
I'm guessing, you know, he lives, you know, he's got wherever he was staying. I don't know if this is his main house, but it's like, you know, you have to have your own plow to get shit around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he probably had like a smaller one because I don't think he was doing it by hand, but
my
they say
God.
the truck didn't see him and ran him over.
You could see how.
So what about that driver? It's like you hurt Hawkeye.
Yeah, not
man.
only
You took
did
out
you-
an Avenger, you
Yeah.
son of a bitch.
He better hide because there's going to be some kind of crazy nerd somewhere that'll try to take him out.
I'm gonna
I
hack your
thought it-
Facebook.
As I read like shit about that, I thought it said snowmobile.
No, it was a plow.
What the fuck?
And I was scared. He's one of my favorites. Like, I love
know.
Jeremy Renner anyway.
Imagine. And this is fucked up. But like, imagine waking up that day and it's like the day you woke up and Chadwick Boseman was dead.
I remember that day.
And I'm fucking telling you, imagine waking up, Jeremy Renner has been smoked by a...
I was scared, yo.
Like, what the fuck?
I was scared.
Imagine like waking up and they're like, he's dead. Like he got...
He was in ICU for 3 days, so we know what I mean? I was following that story very closely.
He's probably in the hospital for like 2-3 weeks, right? Easily.
Oh my God. I'm glad he's all right. Well,
We don't know how all right. Like, we don't.
He tweeted from home, "Thank you for all the support,"
Yeah.
or something to that
maybe,
effect.
maybe he's going to have a hard time. We're not going to see Hawkeye for a while.
So we're gonna see more Kate Bishop.
And this is what I really want to see the new Avengers. Like they've teased so many of them. I would love like America Chavez. I would love to see the new Avengers, even if they're not showing them as a team, showing them that they're recruiting them.
Well, I think America is going to be one of those loose members like Captain Marvel. Like, is Captain Marvel an Avenger? Not really.
And neither is Doctor Strange, technically.
No, right.
I mean, Punisher is
like,
technically.
so when you think
Even at the comics, it's like, who do we want to write into it
but think about the Avengers as a team, and like the team we saw in Age of Ultron.
That was the team.
That was the team.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So that's what you're talking about. Who's the team?
Yeah, who's going to be, because right now, like of the people that are still alive, I would say is mostly Avengers West Coast people. Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, War Machine, you know what I mean? Vision,
Ant-Man,
and even though he was doing the,
and you could see Sam leading the charge.
U.S. Agent was in charge for a while.
How fucking great!
And they're teasing all that too. With
I really think that
Thunderbolts.
I really think that Sam's going to take up that mantle, and I think he's going to be just as great as who played
Steve. Chris Evans.
I think he's going to be just as great a Captain America as Chris Evans. And how hard is that to do?
Oh man, I was so glad they touched on that in the show. You know what I mean?
He'll be just as fucking good.
When the old guy was like, "Why would you even want that shield?" Like that whole conversation.
Yeah, to fucking show you that. Like, why wouldn't I? Like, this is like, that's the thing. And it's like, why? And the old man's like, why would you want that? And he's like, not only do I want it because I want to show that somebody like me can be just as good.
Yeah. But see, I understood that. Because like when I watched that one, because it's like for me as a black man watching
of course,
older, you know what I mean? Because like I remember my mother talking about some of, growing up in the 50s, some of the things that she had to go through that I definitely didn't have to go through. You know what I mean? Have I seen, racist and prejudiced shit happen? Definitely. But it was not like it was happening to my mother. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when I was watching that episode and seeing the older military guy talking to a younger military guy, it was like some of the conversations that I'd had with my mom. You know what I mean? And you can't discredit what they said. And I think the way Sam handled it in the show was like, even how you said, I want it for a different reason to show it that it can be done, not as this big oppressive thing that it was to you. So I think that was done so well to me.
Not only can it be done, it has to be done for progress.
Facts.
Like, for real. It's like, but people got to see that, like, a man like me, a man like anybody, like somebody
normal,
like just a black man that, and just to show that I can be just as much of a hero. I can be just as pure. I can be just as strong as somebody like Steve Rogers. And we don't have to be the same color. People are people. Like, you know what I mean? And like a hero's a hero. And it doesn't matter what color you are. And I think that's maybe the best spot to leave this episode. We're going to jump into... We're recording 2 today.
This is the second one.
We're going to jump into Berserker. Oh, I just read everything about it. I can't wait to get into it.
So Berserker, the next episode.
Next episode. Follow the Comix Zone. That's with an X. .com.
Booyah.
Are you hitting the music?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
You're fucking me up, bro.
I am. I'm just throwing it all up.
All right.
Oh yeah, I forgot I put a fade in it, so it starts in all slow.
So, oh jeez, Jesus Christ.
Maybe I screwed it all up.
Oh my god.
I got a new sound. I got a new SD card, so
don't blame the card.
Oh,
all right, there it is. Follow the Comix Zone wherever you get your podcasts. Go to thecomixzone.com. We have all our episodes there. Also, we're on YouTube now. We're doing video on all these sons of bitches. So go there and follow us. at YouTube.
Sponsor me, Shinerbach. Kids, don't drink. And if you're drinking, don't drive.
Well,
Keep
obviously,
it black.
Keep it black.